And in the emails, it is quite clear that Jeffrey Epstein had a wide, almost incalculably wide circle of associates. People who were celebrities, people who were either in foreign governments or leaders of foreign governments, business tycoons, and the like.
What if Kris Jenner, the woman everyone calls the boss of Hollywood, was actually tied to some elite secret operation the public was never meant to see?
I would rather be dead, not in jail, because I'd rather be dead than to be on medication. No one from the family has taken any responsibility for my hospital visit, but if we were to go online, that's 50% of what people say at least. Or maybe, am I lying?
It doesn't matter.
Am I lying? It do matter! It does matter! It does matter!
The internet's buzzing hard, claiming her empire might connect to a shady system that feels way too close to past industry scandals. These aren't just tabloid whispers. People online are throwing around talk of a possible federal RICO cloud forming over her empire. And that star-loaded 70th birthday she threw? Some folks swear it looked less like a party and more like a quiet meetup for powerful insiders with messy histories. Here's where it really gets wild. Leaks from people who worked around West claim Kris wasn't just managing careers. She was allegedly stepping into something way heavier.
What else is really interesting? So this estate is massive. It's massive. And at some point, the Beverly Hills police get called.
Well, Bruno Mars was performing.
And they get called because of a noise complaint, that it was so loud. Remember, Bruno Mars is performing and all, and it is Saturday night, but this is a hoity-toity area of Beverly Hills.
Totally.
And you just know that there were neighbors there who just aren't used to being put out because they pretty much get everything they want in that area.
They say parts of the investigation point to her connecting certain elite figures now under public fire, and the whispers keep growing louder. Insiders even say she involved herself in decisions around West's family in ways he didn't vibe with, raising concerns about control and influence, not anything harmful toward his kids. We're talking about a grandmother who built her whole brand on unity and forgiveness, now getting hit with claims that she's moving like a high-level power player tied to elite circles most people never touch. The real question isn't just whether any of this sticks, it's how deep it goes and who else might be standing in the shadows with her. Then look at the timing. It's crazy. Right as these accusations started bubbling up, Kris threw a massive 70th birthday blowout at Jeff Bezos' $165 million mansion. The guest list was stacked with billionaires and royals: Gates, Zuckerberg, Harry, Meghan, people who don't usually show up for Kardashian parties unless something serious is happening behind the scenes. The whole thing had a James Bond vibe too, with custom poker chips, non-stop espresso martinis, and Bruno Mars performing so loud the LAPD had to slide through twice. And insiders are whispering that it wasn't just a party. They're calling it a strategic meetup, a quiet signal that the elite circle is still locked in. Meanwhile, West's old breakdowns suddenly look different. Folks dragged him for calling out Kris over Kim's early career choices, including that tape everyone knows. But now those old clips hit way harder. And when he said Kris and Corey Gamble weren't allowed near his kids, people treated it like paranoia, not the warning he clearly thought he was giving.
And I mean, just the funny part about this is that when you're that rich, you just do what you do.
Yeah,
and
totally.
This time, the police came and they kind of schooled him, which I think is really interesting. It doesn't matter that it's Jeff Bezos.
Right.
But, by the way, we should say, it was thrown by Kris's daughters.
Yeah.
With these new allegations floating around, West's words suddenly hit way harder. People close to him say he's been talking to federal investigators, stacking info that could shake Kris and a whole circle of Hollywood power players. And if even a tiny piece of these rumors is real, this goes way past drama.
I know. And sometimes I feel like what he's really trying, like he was like, oh, I'm $53 million in debt, or, that whole thing. And I'm like, what he was trying to say was, that's what he's done to spend on his clothing line over the last 15 or 20 years, whatever it's been. But it comes out not exactly the right way, and then people get it misconstrued, through the media, and then it's complicated. What can I say?
We're talking money moves, tax tricks, and shell companies lined up like dominoes ready to topple. But here's the real question. How does someone who built her whole image on family values end up in the middle of a storm this dark?
Tweeting. There have been days when there should be a no tweeting law. I feel like I'll ground him.
He should have a filter. It's somebody, he should run it by somebody. And if like 10, or like a board, he should have a board.
A board of directors.
He should have a board of directors.
That is such a good idea.
And then people should say, no, do not tweet that. That's a bad idea. And he should listen to them. Because I do like him. I think, you know.
He's a great guy. He really is.
The truth is, the cracks in Kris's polished persona didn't just appear overnight. They've been showing for years. Just look at her deal with MAC Cosmetics. That reportedly had Kim and Kylie heated because MAC is their direct competition. To them, it didn't feel like business. It felt like Kris stepping right over her own daughters to secure her own spotlight. And then there's her so-called church, the California Community Church, where members reportedly drop serious money every month while Kris gets major tax perks.
There's too much circumstantial evidence that leads me to believe that it was an assassination. You know, I know a lot of people think that he committed. A lot of very smart people that I know think he committed. I'm like, there's too many convenient things. The cut wires, the security cameras rather, not working. They weren't cut, right? They just stopped. They didn't function. Security cameras didn't function. The fact that he had shared a cell with this giant former cop.
Folks online aren't calling it spiritual. They're calling it a cash machine feeding the family's pockets. And they're joking like, is this worship or a wallet workout? Now add the real estate hustle. The Kardashians flip houses nonstop, and Kylie's building another huge mansion right next to Kris's. The internet's going wild, wondering if this is just family bonding or a bigger money strategy in disguise. People are comparing it to how elite circles used to move funds through property and offshore channels. All speculation, but that's what's trending. If Kris really had some kind of financial play going on, real estate would be the perfect way to shift money quietly. At least that's what people online whisper. And with Corey Gamble rumored to have ties to certain elite circles, folks are now asking not just what Kris might be hiding, but who she might be aligned with. And here's where the timing gets loud.
I know, but we have a congressional act now to requiring the release, but they're going to say, you know what?
Subject to
Tom
redaction.
Hanks, it's unfair that he was mentioned
the
because he
law
was eating
says
Skittles.
subject to redaction.
Subject to redaction.
And we all know what that means. That's to protect.
That's why I'm saying you will never be satisfied with what's released.
You think the public narrative would have been different for you, Ray, if you had the same level of PR machinery that the Kardashians got?
Man, it hurts to talk about it, bro. I don't want to get emotional because I just want to I want to be a good person.
Well, if he wasn't.
When I say I want to be a good person, I'm already a good person.
Epstein-related emails resurfaced days before Kris's big birthday bash, naming figures like Trump, Gates, and Prince Andrew in old investigations. And then some of those same circles pop up smiling at her celebration. Coincidence? Most people online don't buy it. Kris has always been painted as someone who smiles for the cameras while playing a whole different game when the lights go off, moving sharp and talking forgiveness while handling business like a boss who doesn't blink.
Again, there was new names in some of the emails that I think investigators need to look at. In particular, I jumped on the name of a modeling agent who, in a similar fashion to Jean-Luc Brunel, who brought underage girls from overseas to Jeffrey Epstein for abuse. There was another man. What was interesting about this other individual is that he also apparently provided young models for Donald Trump's modeling agency.
Her interview with Jay Shetty is a perfect example. She talked about loving her daughter's exes, even the ones fans swear treated them wrong. It sounded sweet back then, but now with new allegations swirling, folks say it feels more like a polished PR moment built to protect her mom image while something messier brewed behind the scenes. And then there's the Rob Kardashian and Blac Chyna situation. Their breakup and lawsuits expose just how far the Kardashian machine can go when things get tense. Chyna claimed they tried to ruin her career. She didn't win, but the case showed how Kris moves with lawyers, media pull, and serious financial muscle. People online were like, this looks exactly like the kind of pressure powerful circles use to keep critics quiet. Nobody's labeling Kris anything officially, but social media is lit with comparisons. Folks say if she really were a Hollywood version of a Ghislaine-type figure, purely theory, then the Blac Chyna situation wouldn't just look like family drama. It would look like a warning sign, and now people are watching her every move like hawks. Then the internet really went wild over her birthday bash. To them, it wasn't just a flex, it was a whole power play. The guest list looked stacked with major names tied to old Epstein conversations, all chilling in one billionaire mansion. And with the timing, people said there's no way that was random. Impeccable timing. That's the phrase everyone keeps repeating. Epstein emails drop, the public gets distracted, and Kris throws a party that screams, "We're untouchable!" But if this rumored federal RICO heat gets real, that untouchable look could crack fast. And with talk of speaking to investigators, folks are whispering that the walls might be sliding in quicker than expected. Now let's talk money, because that's where things get loud. People say Kris's empire isn't just built on TV fame, it's built on layers wrapped in secrecy. The church, the non-stop real estate flips, the shell companies. To fans, it looks organized, but to online theorists, it looks like a complex setup built to keep cash flowing and questions quiet. The speculation keeps getting louder. People online say if Kris had any connection to powerful circles linked to Epstein, strictly rumors, then the financial side could hit harder than any family drama. Folks remember how major banks were fined for ignoring red flags, so they're saying if Kris's money trail even resembles that kind of setup, the paperwork alone could shake everything. Then comes the twist. Corey Gamble. Ye has claimed Corey is CIA, planted to get close to the family, and whether that's true or not, the internet ran with it like a full spy movie. In that theory, Corey isn't just a boyfriend, he's protection, the link to the shadows where big deals and buried secrets live. And if Kris really had ties to elite intelligence circles, just speculation, the whole question flips. It's not just what did she do anymore, it becomes who's guiding her moves and why. So where does that leave us? A possible federal investigation hanging over her, a birthday party that looked like a secret summit, and a family empire that suddenly feels built on layers people were never meant to see. The Kardashians always controlled the story, but this time the story might be slipping out of their hands. If Kris Jenner really were the Hollywood version of a Ghislaine-type figure, strictly how people online speculate, the fallout wouldn't stop with her. It would rock the whole industry. The real question becomes who else might get pulled in if any of these rumors ever gain traction. And if even a sliver of these whispers holds weight, then the party's just getting started. Because the real moves are happening behind that flashy birthday setup. Folks want to know what's hiding in those shadows and who might be next to get exposed. Kris's public image as the calm, forgiving mom is clashing hard with the allegations floating around right now. And when people start looking at the patterns online, things get even wilder. Some say Epstein's circle operated through influence, making adults feel like they were being offered access or opportunities. And fair or not, the internet has been comparing that idea to how Kris has shaped careers for years, connecting dots in ways that have everyone talking. Her daughters weren't just managed. They were shaped into global brands, with their images curated and their personal lives turned into power plays for the family empire. Kris positioned herself as the ultimate gatekeeper, and the internet never forgets moments like Kim's early Playboy shoot, which critics say she pushed hard. Kylie becoming a billionaire before she was even handling grown business decisions is another moment people point to. And when West made claims about Kris influencing decisions around his own family, the comparisons online got louder fast. Critics argue that if Kris were moving inside any powerful network, strictly speculation, then her daughters wouldn't just be clients, they'd be her leverage, her currency, her ticket into rooms most people never reach. And that's where the money angle comes in. Insiders online say Kris didn't just build an empire, she built a machine designed to keep money flowing in ways the public can't trace. That's why the California Community Church keeps popping up in conversations. On the surface, it looks spiritual, but the fees and tax perks have people asking serious questions. Members reportedly drop huge monthly fees plus 10% of their income, while Kris gets major tax advantages. So critics online say the church looks less like worship and more like a slick financial shell. Then there's the real estate game. The Kardashians flip houses nonstop, and now Kylie's building another giant mansion right next to Kris's. The internet is buzzing, wondering if it's just family closeness or a strategic setup to keep assets moving quietly. People even compare it to how elite circles historically shifted money, not accusing Kris, just pointing at familiar patterns. And remember, Epstein's operation wasn't only about people, it was about money moving through shell companies and hidden accounts. Now look at West's so-called meltdowns. Some say they weren't random. They were his warnings, his way of sounding the alarm because he felt something was off. People close to him claim he wasn't just ranting, he was trying to get ahead of something he thought was bigger than all of them. Sources close to West say he's been talking with federal investigators, stacking information he thinks could shake Kris and the whole circle he believes surrounds her. And when you look back at his old statements, they hit completely different now. He didn't just accuse Kris of guiding Kim's career. He claimed she was trying to influence decisions around his family in ways he didn't trust, and that's what set him off. Remember when he said Kris and Corey Gamble weren't allowed near his kids? People called it paranoia, but with new allegations trending, those old clips look like clues to some folks online. To West, those weren't rants. That was him drawing a hard line and refusing to let anyone cross it. And if any part of his claims held weight, Kris wouldn't just be a manager. She'd be a mastermind with influence stretching way beyond Hollywood, at least in the version the internet loves to push. And here's the twist. Kris's 70th birthday bash wasn't seen as just a party. People online are calling it a power move, a flex, a loud reminder that she still commands the room no matter what stories are floating around. The guest list had everyone stunned. Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Prince Harry, Meghan Markle. These names don't just pop up at a Kardashian party for nothing. So the internet instantly started asking what was really happening behind those mansion doors. And the timing? Too perfect. Epstein-related emails drop, the public gets distracted, and Kris throws a party that screams, "We're untouchable!" But once you zoom in, things get shaky. Why would tech giants and royals slide into a Hollywood bash unless something deeper was going on? Insiders whispered it felt like a summit, not a birthday. A regrouping for the elite to show they still run the room. And to people calling Kris a Hollywood Ghislaine-type figure, strictly online talk. The whole event looked more like strategy than celebration. And then the internet lined the party up with the Epstein emails and went wild. Those emails mentioned Trump, Gates, and Prince Andrew in old investigations. And suddenly, some of those same circles are at Kris's party. Social media said, coincidence? No chance. Especially since Kris has been accused of playing both sides, acting forgiving in public while moving like a strategist behind the scenes. That brings us to her interview with Jay Shetty. She talked about loving her daughter's exes, even the ones fans say treated them wrong. It felt sweet back then, but now with allegations swirling, people are calling it a PR move to protect her soft mom image while something else supposedly happens behind the scenes. And then there's Corey Gamble, the wild card everyone debates. Ye has claimed Corey is CIA, planted to get close to the family, and whether anyone believes it or not, the internet ran with it like a thriller. If any part of that theory were real, Kris's world wouldn't just be about power and money. It would be about serious protection behind closed doors. In that version of events, Corey isn't just a boyfriend. He's an insurance policy, a bridge to the shadows where real deals and real secrets stay hidden. And to people who think Kris might have elite intel connections, purely speculation, the question flips fast. It stops being, what did she do? And becomes, who's guiding her from the shadows? Some online sources even claim Corey's connections run deep, tied to heavy hitters way beyond normal reach. And if any of that were remotely true, then Kris's birthday party wasn't just a celebration. It was a loud reminder to the elite that she's still plugged in and worth protecting. But here's what nobody can ignore: the legal heat creeping in. A federal RICO case doesn't just appear. It forms around patterns, money trails, and behavior that looks organized enough to raise flags. If Kris were truly a target, investigators wouldn't be chasing rumors. They'd be digging into her financial moves, company structures, and anything that looks off. People online keep comparing it to the Epstein situation, pointing out how major banks got fined for ignoring red flags. That's why critics say if Kris's money trail even resembles that kind of setup, the paperwork alone could crack everything open. And now the fallout conversation gets real. If Kris really were the Hollywood version of a Ghislaine-type figure, strictly internet speculation, then the Kardashian empire wouldn't just be shaky, it'd be hanging by a thread. Kim and Kylie built their whole brands on Kris's foundation, and if that foundation is unstable, everything they built could collapse overnight. And this goes way deeper than money. This is about legacy. Kris spent years crafting the image of the fierce mom holding her family together, but critics say if even a tiny piece of these allegations held weight, that image would flip fast, and the public does not forgive feeling misled. The big question online is, if Kris really had ties to powerful circles, strictly speculation, then who else in Hollywood is tangled in that same web? Her birthday guest list looked like a lineup of elite names, and that alone has the internet buzzing. Because if Kris were a Ghislaine-type figure in Tinseltown, the fallout wouldn't stop at her. It would hit everyone standing near her. And with rumors saying investigators are tightening the net, things could get explosive in the next few months. People close to the situation claim the feds are tracking money trails, connections, and long-term patterns that might point to something way bigger than Kris alone. And then there's West's old warnings, the ones everyone clowned at the time. Now that these allegations are swirling again, folks are replaying his statements like clues he dropped years before anyone listened. He's been sounding alarms for years. And now with new allegations resurfacing, his old words hit way different. People are replaying clips they once ignored, realizing he might have been reacting to vibes he didn't trust, not just making noise. In his mind, it wasn't drama, it was protection. And if investigators really are digging into claims around Kris's empire, her untouchable status might not be as solid as it looked. To West, those meltdowns weren't random. They were him fighting for control while everyone else laughed it off. But zoom out because the bigger picture gets wild. Kris's birthday bash wasn't viewed as a party online. People called it a power flex. And if the elite guests were there with intention, this whole situation is way bigger than Kris alone. The Epstein network operated because powerful people protected each other and ignored warning signs. And if even a sliver of the internet's theory about Kris had truth, purely speculation, then that party wasn't just a celebration, it was a reminder that certain circles stick together no matter what. A birthday party that looked more like a secret summit and a family empire wrapped in shadows. That's the picture people online keep pushing. The Kardashians usually control the narrative, but this time it feels like it's slipping fast. And if Kris really were the Hollywood version of a Ghislaine-type figure, strictly online speculation, the fallout wouldn't stop with her. It would shake the whole industry. The real question isn't just what Kris may have done, it's who else could get dragged down if these rumors gain traction. And this feels like only the beginning. With talk of investigators closing in and West's old warnings resurfacing, people are convinced this storm isn't slowing down. So now we want to hear from you. Can the Kardashian empire survive this? Or is this the start of the end for one of the most famous families on the planet? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's talk. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because when the next bombshell drops, you'll want to be the first to catch it. See you on the next one.